Hey girl, what you doing? Listening to the Be Everything and More podcast, baby. Let's fucking go. Welcome back to the Be Everything and More podcast. I'm your host, Kaitlin. Listen, I just recorded that first episode. I am on fire, but I want to just get real with you real quick. So I got my legs crisscrossed. I'm going to encourage you to go get yourself a little cup of coffee. If tea's your thing, do that. But let's just settle in here for a sec, because if there's anything I hate, it's being talked at, preached at all the time. And I really want to try to minimize that on this show, because a lot of people that are like, you do this, how do you do that? All these things. And I think sometimes we tend to put people on pedestals who have done things that we haven't yet. And I just want to be real with you. Don't put me or this business or anything on a pedestal. I'm probably just a few years ahead of you in business, or maybe I just decided to take really messy action, which we're going to talk about today. But just get cozy, okay? I want you to imagine that we're having coffee together. I'm going to reference coffee a lot, by the way, on this show, because I'm a fucking coffeeholic, or Alani's. That's my jam. So either way, I'll be drinking one of those, but choose your beverage of choice, all right? So imagine that we are sitting across from one another. I really want to chat with you today about how do we actually go after the thing that we want. And I know that seems like a general topic, but I hope that if you stick with me, you'll come out of this with a different perspective, because it's not going to be step one, step two, because your dreams are not linear. And if you've ever tried to go about them in that way, it's probably why you haven't fucking made any progress, okay? Stick with me. We're going to talk about literally how to do that. But first, I want to take you on a little journey, on a little ride, because I promised myself one of the things I was going to do in this show is be less teachy and more real. And what I mean by real is tell you a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes, how I got here. I don't know about you, but I love watching sports documentaries. And it's funny because I never played sports growing up. High C team on every single fucking sports team I ever went, if I even made the C team, okay? I always needed to try out for the leagues that were like, you will make a team no matter what. That was me. But I love sports documentaries so much. Specifically, reading the book Relentless by Tim Grover, all about how he coached Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. And I really like those documentaries because it pulls back the curtain, right? It shows us that someone like Michael Jordan, for example, right, has always been Michael Jordan. He's always had this relentless mentality. However, relentless mentality goes wasted if we don't put action with it. And I'm willing to bet that somewhere in you, you also have this tenaciousness, this relentlessness, this resilience, but it's been buried by many years of not taking action, of not believing it's possible, by not having a plan. And those kinds of things start to accumulate and add up. And you eventually get to the point where you're like, I'm too old to start now, or it doesn't make sense. I've got kids, I've got priorities, I'm working a 9 to 5. When the fuck would I have a chance to actually do this thing for real? I want to share with you why I'm no different. I'm certainly not Michael Jordan, I'll tell you that much. But I'm no different. And the difference is I have learned how to tap into my relentless mentality. A lot of my clients were doing a compilation book, and I recently wrote in there that Some would call me stubborn, and I would say that I am really tenacious. I never give up, and if I want something bad enough, I'm gonna figure out a way to make it happen. And I think that as I'm telling you this story, I want you to keep that in mind too, because that's one of the steps to actually really getting and going after the thing that you want. I want to take you back to, oh my gosh, what was the year? Shoot. Okay, Kaitlin, don't botch this. I think it was 2010. 2010? Yes. And I had been living in LA for a year, and I went on a pretty intense weight loss journey, and that's not the point of the story. But through that health journey and weight loss journey, I was introduced to personal development. I never even knew what that was. And I think my first book was How to Win Friends and Influence People, the 7 highly effective habits of, gosh, I'm going to, botch that title, but y'all all know where I'm going with these books. I was reading these concepts that made sense to me, but felt really far away. And it was kind of like, good for you, Karen, but that's not going to work for me right now. And the thing was, it started as information. So I started just by reading the book, getting the information into my brain. And that's what a podcast like this can do. It can just start and be the first domino. So while I was going to the gym, while I was doing all these things, I was taking in this information. And then my trainer at the time, who we remained good friends, he invited me to go watch his wife go do the LA Marathon. She was pregnant at the time. It was so cute. And I was like, yes, I would love to go watch her. Not only that, when he told me that, he's like, and I want you to run the 5K that day. And I'm like, what? I don't run. I already told you this. That was the first thing I told him when we first started working together. I'm like, if you literally make me run, I will find another trainer. Slowly, as I started to feel better, right, I was closet running, and I would run on my own time in the gym, praying that he wouldn't see me even trying. He threw this challenge at me because he knows that I love a good challenge. So I said yes very reluctantly, and then the day came, and that year, the 5K was hosted the day before the actual marathon. I literally remember this day like it was yesterday. I was so nervous. I was so nervous. It was I don't know. I was going to stand up in front of an audience of 10,000 people. That was the level of nerves. And I really still can't pinpoint what it was all about. I don't know if it was what if I don't finish? What if I just can't do this? And that is a very uncomfortable thing for me. I do not like thinking about what if I can't do something. Because then I'm this is just not a choice, right? So I kept telling myself, Kaitlin, it's not a choice. It's not a choice. You're going to do this thing. Spoiler alert, I crossed the line of the 5K, and I felt like I literally just finished an Ironman. I was it was the most victorious feeling I've ever had. And I literally was crying, the ugly cries. And I hugged him and I said, oh my gosh, next year I'm going to do the marathon. That is how I roll. I just go from a 5K, which if you've never done, it's 3.1 miles. And then I was like, fuck that shit. Next year, I'm going to do 26.2. And I did. I finished that marathon the next year. And I was like, I think I'm ready for a triathlon. I did an Olympic sprint. Then I did a sprint, an Olympic, and then I did a half Ironman all the way to the full Ironman. Still wasn't enough. I needed to do an ultra. And I tell you that because of a couple things. One, I am not built like a runner. I am not built to be, I already told you, not athletic. But it was this tenacious mentality that I had of no matter what, I am going to do this thing and I'm going to do what it takes, whether that's, and I was working. I've never had a 9 to 5, I'll be honest, but I was styling at the time and it required me to be, working with clients by 9-ish a.m. So I had to get up at 5 a.m. to train. And I didn't like doing that. I was in my young mid 20s. And I was like, I don't want to get up at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning to train, but I also wanted to finish more than anything in the entire universe. I share this because I think that there's a lot of parts of this story that have contributed to me getting here in my business, and I know will be a building block to where I'm going next. And it's really the foundation of everything that we're doing. It's why I say, like, becoming her is the best business strategy you've got, is that going through that process of facing really hard mental and physical obstacles and having this mindset that failure of not crossing that finish line was not a fucking option. That was not a choice. We removed that choice from the table. Like it was just, it wasn't like A, B, C, not finish. It was like, no, A is finish in this time, which would give me a personal best, and B is just finish. Those were the options. There was no backup plan. Okay. And so I trained with this mentality, and what that did was prepare me for this season of entrepreneurship. It prepared me for going through a divorce. It prepared me for when I shared with my family that I was in a relationship with my partner who is non-binary, and that felt like, shattering, earth-shattering and shocking at the time. And it prepared me for raising my daughter who has PDA, which is pathological demand avoidance, which is classified as being under the autism spectrum. It has prepared me for really hard conversations, friendships ending, lots of things. Going back to that first domino, right, of just saying yes to the hard things, saying yes to the challenge. That is one of the first steps in actually getting the life and accomplishing the dreams that you have set out. So that is a weekly challenge that I have for you this week, is to say yes to something that you've been maybe overthinking or putting off, because you've got to create some kind of momentum and some kind of action if you're ever going to get there. Okay. So that was my story time for you, but I do want to get into like some actual little pieces that we can pull and you can actually use in your own life. Because again, people, you might say like, that's great for you. Glad you finished that. But how does that even actually apply to my business? Or how do I make this work for me? Or I don't want to run a marathon. It's not about the marathon. Okay. It is about what is your marathon? What is the thing that you are working for? So the first thing to get anywhere is, no matter what, you need to want it bad enough. If you don't want it bad enough, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to happen. It literally will not happen, because I know the type of woman that you are. You do have a lot of responsibilities, and you have a list longer of reasons why you shouldn't than reasons why you should. So if you don't want it, the list that's longer is going to win. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So decide first if this is even what you fucking want. One of the first qualifying steps to working with women in any of my containers is like, do you even want this? Why are you doing this? We have to find out really quickly. Are you building this because you hate your 9 to 5 so much and you just think that this is the way out? Are you building this because you think that this is like a quick way to make 5, 10K a month? Are you building this because you really love it, and no matter what, like whatever money it makes or doesn't make or anything, you really love it bad enough that you're willing to put in the time? We need to make that decision. That is what I would ask you to do, is to sit with this thing that you've been putting time and energy, both mentally and physically and spiritually, into, and decide, like, is this something that you really want? If your answer to that is yes, then you need to decide how to make that non-negotiable. Like I was telling you the story about the running and the races, it was non-negotiable to finish. That was not a choice. So I needed to do things that were uncomfortable, like get up early, wear spandex, be part of a running club, which was, oh my fuck. If you want to talk about uncomfortable, being the last person oh my God, talk about uncomfortable. But it needs to be non-negotiable. You need to want it. It needs to be non-negotiable, and you need to take messy action every single day. Every day. And I know that sounds overwhelming, but I didn't say do it all day, every day. I just said take messy action every day. Since I started the Beam Life 6 years ago, there hasn't been one day that has gone by that I don't do something for the Beam Life. It could literally be writing something down that took me 30 seconds, but that action that I took moved me closer to where we are now. And the action I'm taking today is moving me closer to where we're going. And the fourth thing, this is the last, but it is showing up as her like every day. You have to show up as her. Even when I hadn't finished the marathon yet, I showed up in my life as a marathon finisher. I showed up with that kind of attitude, with that kind of fortitude, with that kind of confidence. I wore the clothes, I bought the shoes, I did the thing, and I put myself in rooms with runners. I read books about running. I watched documentaries about running. I watched YouTube videos about, Ironmans and mindset and how you actually do these things. Because it is the practice of embodiment that actually can help to get us closer to where we want to be faster than anything else. So, in case you forgot, you got to want it bad enough. You got to make it non-negotiable. You got to take messy action, and you got to show up as her. And I know you already forgot your weekly homework, which is this week. I want you to do something like so messy it's uncomfortable, so embarrassingly messy. And again, it doesn't have to be huge, but maybe it's like actually telling someone you have a business or posting about your business, making that piece of content, having an uncomfortable conversation with someone, blocking somebody that continues to not support where you're going. I just want you to take one action, and then it would be like the biggest honor ever if you actually DM'd that to me, because this was not on today's list, but there'll be a whole episode about accountability. And that's one of the best ways to have accountability is to actually tell somebody. Okay, so tell me. I want to hear about it. Again, I am not some unreachable human. I am like your ride or die. I already told you that in episode 1. You decide you want this bad enough, I'm right here with you, babe. Let's go. We'll get dirty. We'll be in the trenches. We're going to do this shit. Messy and all the things. I love you so much. I believe in you. I can't wait to hear what your messy action is this week. I just want to commend you already. Take action. I'm so proud of you. Come back next week. We have a really special episode for you. But biggest honor is if this meant something to you, if something with you resonated, please like this episode, share this episode, subscribe, leave a review, all of the things. And that would be just the most highest honor, and I'm so grateful. I'll see you back here next week, babe. I feel like that one was so much better.